Maria Diaz sat at the piano, her fingers moving quickly over the black and white keys. Beautiful notes of Chopin's Ballade No. 1 filled the small practice room. She had played this piece so many times that she didn't need to look at the music anymore. Her hands knew where to go on their own. At 16, Maria was the youngest student at Lincoln High School to ever make it to the regional music competition. The practice room door opened. Mr. Reynolds, Maria's piano teacher, walked in with his usual serious face. He was tall and thin, with gray hair that was always perfectly combed. He carried his leather folder under one arm. Mr. Reynolds had been teaching piano for over 30 years and was known as the strictest music teacher in the city. Many students quit because they couldn't handle his harsh words, but those who stayed often became great musicians. Maria stopped playing and looked up at her teacher. "Good afternoon, Mr. Reynolds." He didn't smile. "Continue," he said, waving his hand. He sat in a chair in the corner and opened his folder to take notes. Maria took a deep breath and started playing again. Her heart beat faster, knowing Mr. Reynolds was watching her every move. She tried to focus only on the music, feeling the emotion in each note as the piece moved from soft and gentle to powerful and fast. When she finished, Maria waited for Mr. Reynolds to speak. The silence in the room felt heavy. "Your timing is off in the middle section," he finally said, writing something in his folder. "And you're rushing the ending. It sounds messy." Maria's shoulders dropped. She had practiced that section for hours yesterday. "I'll work on it more tonight," she promised. "The competition is in 3 days," Mr. Reynolds reminded her. He stood up and walked to the piano. His face looked troubled. "I've been thinking about your piece selection." Maria looked up at him, confused. "What do you mean?" "I've been practicing the Chopin for 7 months. Mr. Reynolds nodded slowly. "Yes, and you've made progress, but I don't think you're ready for such a difficult piece in competition. Chopin requires emotional maturity that comes with age and experience." Maria felt her stomach tighten. "But the competition is this Saturday. We can't change now, actually." "We can," Mr. Reynolds said. He pulled some sheet music from his folder and placed it on the piano. "Mozart Sonata No. 16. You played this 2 years ago, remember? It's elegant, precise, and more appropriate for your skill level." Maria stared at the Mozart piece in shock. Yes, she had played it before. It was pretty, but simple. Nothing like the challenging, emotional Chopin piece she had worked so hard to master. "But Mr. Reynolds, I know the Chopin piece. I've been practicing it every day since September." Maria tried to keep her voice steady. "My decision is final," he said firmly. "The judges will appreciate a perfectly played Mozart more than a Chopin. With mistakes, trust me, I've been judging these competitions for decades." Maria felt tears forming in her eyes, but she blinked them away. Crying would only prove Mr. Reynolds' point that she was too young and emotional. "Yes, sir," she said, quietly. "Good. Now, let's hear the Mozart." From the beginning, he tapped his finger on the music stand twice. For the next hour, Maria played the Mozart piece. Her fingers remembered it easily, but her heart wasn't in it. When the lesson ended, Mr. Reynolds seemed pleased. Much better. "This is the right choice," he said, packing up his things. "Practice this for 2 hours tonight, and we'll meet again tomorrow after school." After Mr. Reynolds left, Maria sat alone at the piano. She played a few notes of the Chopin piece she loved so much. 7 months of hard work, early mornings practicing. Before school, weekends spent inside while her friends went to movies and parties. All for nothing. The music room door opened again. Mrs. Chen, the school's choir director, peeked in. "Maria, are you okay? I thought I heard Chopin." Maria quickly switched back to the Mozart piece. "Mr. Reynolds changed my competition piece. He says I'm not ready for Chopin." Mrs. Chen frowned. "That's unusual so close to competition." She came into the room and sat next to Maria on the piano bench. "How do you feel about that?" No one had asked Maria how she felt. The question made her throat tight. "I don't know. Mr. Reynolds knows best, I guess. Play some of the Chopin for me." Mrs. Chen asked gently. Maria hesitated, then began to play. She closed her eyes and let the music take over. All her feelings poured into the keys. her frustration, her disappointment, and her love for this beautiful, complex piece. When she finished, she opened her eyes and saw Mrs. Chen watching her with a surprised expression. "Maria, that was beautiful," Mrs. Chen said. "Yes, you played with such emotion and understanding. Mr. Reynolds says my timing is off in the middle, and I rushed the ending." Mrs. Chen shook her head. It wasn't perfect, but music isn't about being perfect. It's about connecting with the audience, making them feel something. She paused. "Did you know I was a concert pianist before I became a teacher?" Maria looked up in surprise. "No, I didn't. I had a teacher like Mr. Reynolds. Everything had to be technically perfect, no mistakes." Mrs. Chen's eyes looked sad for a moment. "I won many competitions, but I stopped loving music. That's why I switched to teaching." The school bell rang, marking the end of the day. Mrs. Chen stood up. "Just something to think about. Good luck with whatever piece you play on Saturday." Maria packed up her music, including both the Mozart and Chopin pieces. Outside the school, buses were lined up. She saw her best friend Jessie waving from a window and managed a small wave back. Usually they sat together on the bus, but today Maria needed to think. She found an empty seat at the back of the bus and put in her earbuds. She had recordings of both pieces on her phone. First, she listened to the Mozart. It was light and pretty, like sunshine sparkling on water. Then she switched to the Chopin. The music started softly, then built into powerful waves of sound that made her heart race. This was the piece that had made her fall in love with piano all over again when she first heard it last year. When Maria got home, her mother was in the kitchen making dinner. The smell of her mom's famous chicken soup filled the house. "How was your lesson?" Elena Diaz asked, stirring the pot. "Fine," Maria said, not meeting her mother's eyes. Elena stopped stirring and looked at her daughter. "Maria, what's wrong? You look upset." Maria dropped her backpack on a kitchen chair. "Mr. Reynolds changed my competition piece from Chopin to Mozart. He says I'm not ready for Chopin." Lena wiped her hands on a towel and sat down at the table. "Sit, Mia. Tell me everything." Maria explained what had happened while her mother listened carefully. When she finished, Elena asked, "And what do you think? Are you ready for the Chopin?" "I don't know," Maria admitted. "I love the piece so much. I've worked so hard on it. But Mr. Reynolds has been teaching forever and he's on the competition board. Maybe he's right. Play both pieces for your father." When he gets home, Elena suggested, "Sometimes a fresh set of ears helps." Later that evening after dinner, Maria played both pieces for her parents in their small living room. Their upright piano wasn't as nice as the grand piano at school, but it had been in her father's family for generations. When she finished, her father David, who played guitar in a local band on weekends, asked, "Which piece do you want to play?" "At the competition, the Chopin," Maria said without hesitation. "But Mr. Reynolds is a great teacher," David finished. "But he's not the one playing on Saturday." "You are, but what if he's right? What if I mess up the Chopin and embarrass myself?" Maria asked. "Then you mess up," Elena said simply. "You're in the world doesn't end." "But when you played the Chopin just now, I saw the real you in the music. With the Mozart, I saw a student playing the right notes." Maria looked down at her hands. "Mr. Reynolds would be so angry if I didn't play the piece he chose." "That's true." Her father nodded. "You have to decide what matters more to you, making your teacher happy or being true to yourself and the music you love. Sleep on it," her mother suggested. "The answer will come." That night, Maria couldn't sleep. She lay in bed thinking about the competition, about Mr. Reynolds' serious face, about Mrs. Chen's words, and about how the Chopin piece made her feel when she played it. Around midnight, she got up and tiptoed downstairs to the piano. In the dark living room, with only moonlight coming through the windows, Maria played the Chopin piece one more time. She played it softly so she wouldn't wake her parents, letting her fingers dance over the keys from memory. When she finished, she felt calm for the first time all day. She knew what she needed to do. The next morning, Maria got ready for school earlier than usual. She had barely slept after her midnight decision, but strangely, she didn't feel tired. She felt nervous, but sure about what she needed to do. At breakfast, her mother noticed something different about her. "You look better today," Elena said, placing a plate of toast in front of her daughter. "Did you make a decision?" Maria nodded, spreading jam on her toast. "I did, but I don't want to talk about it yet. I need to practice more first." Elena patted Maria's shoulder. "Whatever you decided, we support you." Maria's father looked up from his coffee. "Just remember, being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do something even though you're scared." At school, Maria went straight to the music room during lunch break. She was relieved to find it empty. She sat at the grand piano and placed both pieces of music in front of Herth and Mozart that Mr. Reynolds wanted her to play, and the Chopin that she loved. She began to practice the Chopin piece, focusing on the middle section that Mr. Reynolds said was problematic. The door opened, and Maria quickly switched to the Mozart piece. But it was only Jessie, her best friend. "Hey, piano girl," Jessie said, dropping her backpack on the floor and sitting next to Maria on the bench. "You've been avoiding me. What's going on?" Maria's fingers stopped moving. "Mr. Reynolds changed my competition piece 2 days ago. He wants me to play Mozart instead of Chopin." "What? But you've been practicing that Chopin piece forever?" Jessie exclaimed. "You even missed my birthday party to practice." "I know." Maria sighed. "He thinks I'm not ready for it. That's crazy. I don't know much about classical music, but even I can tell how amazing you sound playing that piece." Jessie bumped Maria's shoulder with her own. "So what are you going to do?" Maria hesitated, then looked at her friend. "I'm going to play the chop." Jessie's eyes widened against Mr. Reynolds' orders. "Wow, bold move, Diaz. I might get disqualified," Maria admitted. "Or Mr. Reynolds might never want to teach me again. Or you might totally rock it and show everyone how awesome you are," Jessie countered. "Need moral support? My mom can drive us to the competition on Saturday." Maria smiled for the first time in days. "That would be great. My parents are coming too, but having you there would help." The lunch bell rang, and they gathered their things. As they left the music room, Jessie asked, "Does Mr. Reynolds know what you're planning?" Maria shook her head. "No. And don't tell anyone, okay? I'll have my afternoon lesson with him today, and I'll pretend to practice the Mozart. If he knows I'm going to disobey him, he might pull me from the competition completely."
"Your secret
"Is safe with me," Jessie promised. "But Maria, I think you're doing the right thing." After school, Maria waited nervously for her lesson with Mr. Reynolds. When he arrived, his face looked more serious than usual. "Good afternoon, Maria," he said, placing his leather folder on top of the piano. "Let's hear the Mozart from the beginning." Maria played the Mozart piece perfectly. Her fingers moved across the keys without a single mistake. When she finished, Mr. Reynolds nodded approvingly. "Much better. Your technique is clean. Your timing is precise." This is exactly what the judges want to hear. He made some notes in his folder. "Tomorrow we'll have our final practice, and then Saturday is the big day." "Mr. Reynolds," Maria said hesitantly, "may I ask why you really changed my piece? Is my Chopin really that bad?" Mr. Reynolds sighed and sat down in the chair next to the piano. For a moment, he looked tired rather than strict. "It's not bad, Maria. In fact, your playing has improved greatly. But Chopin's Ballade No. 1 is considered one of the most difficult piano pieces ever written. Professional pianists twice your age struggle with it. But I've worked so hard." "I know you have," he interrupted, "and in a few years you'll be ready to perform it beautifully. But right now, it's like giving a new driver a Formula One race car. The potential for disaster is too high." Maria looked down at her hands. "I understand. I've been teaching for over 30 years, Mr. Reynolds." Continued. "I've seen many talented students crash and burn by attempting pieces beyond their abilities in competitions. The judges can be cruel. I'm trying to protect you." Maria nodded, but inside she felt more determined than ever. Mr. Reynolds was wrong. She was ready. "Now, let's go through the Mozart once more, focusing on the dynamics in the second movement," Mr. Reynolds said, turning to the correct page. For the rest of the lesson, Maria was the perfect student. She played exactly as Mr. Reynolds instructed, making all the corrections he suggested. When the lesson ended, he seemed pleased. "Excellent work today," he said, closing his folder. I know you were disappointed about the change, but trust me, this is the right decision. The Mozart suits your current abilities perfectly, and you'll make a strong impression on the judges. Thank you, Mr. Reynolds, Maria said politely. I appreciate all your guidance. After he left, Maria quickly packed up her things and headed to the bus. On the ride home, she put in her earbuds and listened to recordings of professional pianists playing the Chopin piece. She noted how they handled the difficult middle section, how they built tension throughout the piece, and how they expressed emotion in their playing. At home, Maria went straight to the piano. She played the Chopin piece over and over, focusing on the sections Mr. Reynolds had criticized. Her mother called her for dinner twice before she finally stopped practicing. You're working very hard, Alina observed as they ate. The Mozart must be coming along well. Maria exchanged a glance with her father, who raised an eyebrow. Actually, I'm still practicing the Chopin, she admitted. Alina put down her fork. Maria, are you sure about this? Mr. Reynolds is your teacher. He knows what's best for your musical development. I know he means well, Maria said. Told me today he's trying to protect me from the judges. But Mom, this piece means everything. To me, when I play it, I feel like I'm finally saying something important with my music. Alina looked worried. What will happen if you disobey him? I might get disqualified, Maria said quietly. Or he might refuse to teach me anymore. Are you prepared for those consequences? Her father asked. Maria nodded slowly. I think so. I'd rather fail playing a piece I love than succeed playing something that doesn't challenge me. Her parents looked at each other, having a silent conversation with their eyes. Finally, her father spoke. Then we support your decision. Whatever happens on Saturday, we're proud of you for standing up for your art. That night, Maria called her grandmother in Mexico. Abuela Rosa had been a music teacher before she retired, and she always gave good advice. Abuela, I need to tell you something, Maria said when her grandmother answered. She explained the situation with Mr. Reynolds and her decision to play the Chopin piece anyway. There was a long pause, and then Abuela Rosa chuckled. Ah, mi Nina, you remind me of myself at your age. You disobeyed your teacher too? Maria asked, surprised. Yes, but in a different way. My teacher wanted me to play with more emotion, more heart, but I was too focused on playing every note perfectly. I was technically good, but how do you say it? Soulless. What happened? I lost a very important competition, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me because it taught me that. Music is more than just correct notes. It's about speaking to people's hearts. Maria smiled. That's how I feel about the Chopin piece. Then you must play it, mi Nina. Even if you make mistakes, play with all your heart. That is what great musicians do. After talking to her grandmother, Maria felt peaceful. She went to bed early, knowing she needed rest before tomorrow's final practice with Mr. Reynolds. As she drifted off to sleep, she imagined herself on the competition stage. In her mind, she saw Mr. Reynolds' angry face when she began to play the Chopin instead of the Mozart. She saw the judges leaning forward in their seats, surprised. But most importantly, she saw herself playing with confidence and joy, sharing the music she loved with everyone in the room. Whatever happened on Saturday, Maria would be true to herself and to the music. And that, she decided, was what really mattered. The day of the competition arrived with bright sunshine streaming through Maria's bedroom window. She had slept surprisingly well, despite the big decision she had made. Today was the day she would either triumph or face serious consequences. For her choice, she dressed carefully in the outfit she and her mother had picked out weeks ago, a simple blue dress with short sleeves and a full skirt that wouldn't restrict her movements at the piano. Her mother helped her braid her long dark hair into a neat style that would stay out of her face while she played. Nervous? Alina asked, as she secured the end of the braid with a small blue ribbon. Yes, Maria admitted, but not about the music. I'm nervous about what will happen when Mr. Reynolds realizes what I'm doing. Alina turned her daughter around to face her. Remember what your father said? Being brave means doing something even when you're scared. Whatever happens today, we are so proud of you. Downstairs, David was making breakfast. Pancakes for the piano star, he announced, flipping a perfect golden circle onto a plate. You need energy for your big day. Maria tried to eat, but her stomach felt tight with nerves. She managed a few bites and drank some orange juice. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jesse. Good luck today. We'll be there cheering for you. Hashtag Team Chopin. The message made Maria smile. At least she would have supporters in the audience. Family got into their car and drove to the Central Music Hall where the regional competition was being held. It was a beautiful old building with tall columns at the entrance and a grand staircase leading up to the main doors. As they walked in, Maria saw other students with their families, all dressed in their best clothes, carrying instrument cases or music folders. Maria, Mr. Reynolds called, walking quickly toward them. He wore a dark suit and tie and carried his familiar leather folder. I've been looking for you. Registration is this way. He nodded politely to Maria's parents. Mr. and Mrs. Diaz, good morning. Maria is well prepared. She'll make you proud today. She always makes us proud, David said, placing a supportive hand on Maria's shoulder. Mr. Reynolds led Maria to the registration table while her parents found seats in the auditorium. The judges have your information and know you'll be performing. Mozart's Sonata No. 16, he told her. You're performer number 8, so you'll have some time to prepare mentally before you go on. Maria nodded, feeling a twinge of guilt about her secret plan. Mr. Reynolds had been her teacher for 4 years. He had helped her develop her skills and had even arranged for reduced lesson fees when her family struggled financially. Was she wrong to go against his wishes? But then she remembered the feeling of playing the Chopin piece, how the music seemed to flow from her heart through her fingers. No, she had to be true to herself and to the music she loved. I'll show you to the warm-up room, Mr. Reynolds said. You can prepare there until it's your turn. The warm-up room was a small classroom with several upright pianos separated by movable walls for privacy. Other students were already there, running through scales or difficult passages from their pieces. Mr. Reynolds found an empty piano in the corner. Practice the Mozart for about 20 minutes, then rest your hands, he instructed. Don't overdo it. You're well prepared. Yes, Mr. Reynolds, Maria said, setting her music on the stand. I need to speak with the other judges for a few minutes. I'll be back to check on you before you perform. He gave her a rare, brief smile. Stay focused. You'll do fine. After Mr. Reynolds left, Maria sat at the piano and placed both pieces of music on the stand, the Mozart on top and the Chopin hidden underneath. She played a few passages from the Mozart piece, in case anyone was listening. But her mind was already preparing for the Chopin. The door opened, and Maria quickly flipped to a different part of the Mozart sonata. But it wasn't Mr. Reynolds, it was Mrs. Chen, the choir director from school. Maria, I thought I'd find you here, Mrs. Chen said, coming over to the piano. I wanted to wish you luck before the competition starts. Thank you for coming, Maria said, genuinely touched that her choir director had come to support her. Mrs. Chen lowered her voice. So, which piece are you playing today? Mozart or Chopin? Maria glanced around to make sure no one could hear them. She whispered, but Mr. Reynolds doesn't know. Instead of looking shocked, Mrs. Chen smiled. I thought you might make that choice. That's why I came early to give you this. She handed Maria a small box. Maria opened it and found a beautiful silver music note pin. It's lovely, she said, admiring how it caught the light. It was given to me by my piano teacher when I was about your age, Mrs. Chen explained. She said it was to remind me that music comes from the heart, not just the hands. I think you understand that better than most students? Maria carefully pinned it to her dress. Thank you. This means a lot to me. Mrs. Chen squeezed her shoulder. I'll be in the audience. Just play your heart out, whatever happens. After Mrs. Chen left, Maria continued to practice quietly. Other students came and went from the warm-up room as their turn to perform approached. She could hear snippets of different pieces, some Bach, some Beethoven, even some modern composers. Finally, competition assistant appeared at the door. Maria Diaz, you're up after the next performer. Please come with me. Maria gathered her. Music, making sure the Chopin piece was secure, but hidden behind the Mozart. Her heart was pounding so hard, she was sure everyone could hear it. The assistant led her to a small waiting area just off the main stage. Through the curtain, Maria could hear another student playing a lively piece by Liszt. Mr. Reynolds appeared. Beside her, checking his watch. Good. You're ready? Remember, start at a moderate tempo. Don't rush the opening. Maria nodded, clutching her music tightly. You look pale, Mr. Reynolds observed. Take a deep breath. Stage fright is normal, even for experienced performers. I'm okay, Maria said, trying to sound confident, just focused. The Liszt piece ended, and applause filled the auditorium. The student who had been playing came off the stage, looking relieved that his performance was over. And now, the announcers. Voice said, performer number 8, Maria Diaz, from Lincoln High School. Playing Mozart's Sonata No. 16 in C major. That's you, Mr. Reynolds said. Remember, clean and precise. Make me proud. Maria walked onto the stage, the bright lights momentarily blinding her. The grand piano waited in the center, its lid raised to project the sound better. As her eyes adjusted, she could see the audience rows and rows of people watching her. In the front row, she spotted the 5 judges with their score sheets, Mr. Reynolds taking his place among them in the middle section. She saw her parents, Jessie and her mom, and Mrs. Chen all sitting together. Jessie gave her a thumbs dash up. Maria sat down at the piano and adjusted the bench. She placed her music on the stand, Mozart still on top. She took a moment to arrange her dress, then positioned her hands over the keys. This was it. The moment of truth. She took a deep breath, looked down at her hands, and began to play. But the notes that filled the auditorium weren't the light, cheerful opening of Mozart's sonata. Instead, the deep, powerful chords of Chopin's Ballade No. 1 in G minor rolled from the piano. It's filling the space with rich, emotional sound. In the front row, Mr. Reynolds' head snapped up from his score sheet. His eyes widened in shock and his face flushed red. He half rose from his seat as if to stop her, then slowly sat back down as the other judges gave him questioning looks. Maria didn't see any of this. Her eyes were closed as she lost herself in the music she loved.
All the hours
of practice, all the emotion she had poured into learning this piece, it all came together in this moment. Her small hands moved confidently across the keyboard, bringing out the melody while her left hand handled the complex bass patterns. The piece built in intensity. Moving from the gentle opening to more dramatic sections, Maria swayed slightly. With the music, her body feeling every note. When she reached the middle section that had given her trouble, her fingers found the right keys without hesitation. The music flowed through her naturally, as if she and the piano were one. In the audience, people who had been shuffling programs or whispering to each other grew silent. All eyes were on the young girl at the piano who was playing with such passion and skill. Even people who knew nothing about classical music could feel the emotion in her performance. Maria's parents held hands tightly, watching their daughter with pride and anxiety. They knew what this moment meant to her, and they knew the risk she was taking. Jessie was recording the performance on her phone, a huge grin on her face. Beside her, Mrs. Chen watched with tears in her eyes, her hand touching the spot where her own music note pin had once been. And in the front row, Mr. Reynolds sat rigidly in his chair, his score sheet forgotten in his lap. His face showed a mix of emotions, anger at being disobeyed, embarrassment in front of his fellow judges. But also, as the piece continued, a grudging recognition of the quality of Maria's playing. As Maria approached the finale of the piece, her confidence grew. She had made it this far without any major mistakes. The last section was the most difficult, with fast runs up and down the keyboard and powerful chords. She took a slight pause, gathering her strength, then launched into the ending with all the energy and emotion she could summon. The final notes rang out in the silent hall. The applause continued, growing louder as people began to stand. Maria remained seated at the piano, surprised by the strong reaction. She had expected some applause out of politeness, but not this enthusiastic response. People were smiling. Some were even shouting bravo. Near the back, she could see Jessie jumping up and down while filming with her phone. Maria finally stood and gave a small bow. the way Mr. Reynolds had taught his students. As she looked toward the judge's table, her heart sank. Mr. Reynolds' face was red with anger. He was writing furiously on his score sheet, not looking at her or joining in the applause. The other 4 judges were clapping. One older woman with silver hair was even dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Maria left the stage on shaky legs, the sound of applause following her. Behind the curtain, she leaned against the wall, her heart racing. She had done it. She had played the Chopin piece instead of the Mozart, and she had played it well. She didn't have to wait long to find out. Mr. Reynolds appeared backstage, his leather folder clutched tightly in one hand. "What were you thinking?" he demanded in a low, angry voice. "You deliberately disobeyed me. You've embarrassed me in front of the entire music community." Maria stood up straight, finding courage she didn't know she had. "I'm sorry if you feel embarrassed, Mr. Reynolds, but I played the piece I've been preparing for 7 months. The piece I believe in. Belief doesn't matter in a competition," he snapped. "Discipline matters. Following instructions matters. You've thrown away months of my teaching." "No, I haven't," Maria said quietly. "I used everything you taught me. The technique, the expression, the dynamics. I just applied it to the Chopin instead of the Mozart." Mr. Reynolds shook his head. "This is unacceptable. I'm going to speak with the other judges about disqualifying you for changing your piece without approval." As he turned to leave, a woman's voice stopped him. "Actually, Thomas, that won't be necessary." Ms. Abernathy, the competition director, walked toward them. She was an elegant woman in her 60s who had been running the regional competition. For over 20 years, her opinion was highly respected in the music community. "Judith," Mr. Reynolds said, straightening his tie, "I was just coming to speak with you. My student changed her piece without permission. According to the rules state that changes must be approved by the student's teacher or the competition board." Ms. Abernathy interrupted. "As I recall, you're both her teacher and a board member. If you didn't approve the change, you should have updated us." Mr. Reynolds opened his mouth, then closed it again. He was caught in a trap. If he admitted he hadn't approved the Chopin piece, he'd reveal he had lost control of his student. If he claimed he had approved it, there would be no rule violation. Besides, Ms. Abernathy continued, her eyes twinkling, it was a remarkable performance. "The judges would like to speak with you, Maria." She turned to the girl. "They have some questions about your interpretation of certain passages." Maria glanced nervously at Mr. Reynolds, then back at Miss Abernathy. "Am I in trouble?" "Not at all, dear. Quite the opposite." She held out her hand. "Come with me. Thomas, the next student is waiting to perform. Please return to the judge's table." Mr. Reynolds stood frozen for a moment, then nodded stiffly and walked away, his back rigid with anger. Ms. Abernathy led Maria to a small room where the other 4 judges were waiting. They looked up and smiled when she entered. "Here she is, our young Chopin interpreter," Ms. Abernathy announced. "Maria, these are our guest judges from the State Conservatory of Music." The silver-haired woman who had been crying came forward. "First, I'm Dr. Eleanor Wilson, head of the piano department. That was quite a performance, young lady." "Thank you," Maria said, feeling overwhelmed. These were important people in the music world, not just local teachers. "We have a few questions for you," said a tall man with glasses. "I'm Professor James Lee. First, how long have you been studying the Ballade?" 7 months, Maria answered. "I fell in love with it when I heard it at a concert last year." "And why did you decide to play it today instead of the Mozart that was listed in the program?" asked another judge. Maria hesitated, not wanting to get Mr. Reynolds in more trouble. "I felt a stronger connection to the Chopin piece. The Mozart is beautiful, but the Chopin speaks to me in a different way." The judges nodded, seeming to understand. "One last question," Dr. Wilson said. "That middle section, with the challenging left-hand patterns, how did you approach practicing that?" Maria explained her practice method, how she had broken down the difficult passages and worked on them separately before putting them together. The judges listened with interest, occasionally making notes. "Thank you, Maria," Ms. Abernathy said when they finished. "You can go back to your family now. Results will be announced in about an hour, after all performances are complete." In the lobby, Maria's parents were waiting anxiously. They rushed to her as soon as they saw her. "Mia, you were amazing," her mother exclaimed, hugging her tightly. "Are so proud of you," her father added, "no matter what happens with the results." "Mr. Reynolds looked pretty angry," Maria said. "I think he might not want to teach me anymore." Her father squeezed her shoulder. "Let's worry about that later. Today is about celebrating your courage." Jessie pushed through the crowd, her phone still in her hand. "Maria, that was incredible. I've already posted the video online, and people are loving it. Look." She showed Maria her phone screen where the video of her performance already had hundreds of views and many positive comments. "I didn't know you were recording," Maria said, surprised. "Of course I was. My best friend just gave the performance of a lifetime. This needs to be documented." Jessie grinned. "Plus, I figured if Mr. Reynolds tried to get you in trouble, we'd have evidence of how amazing you were." Mrs. Chen appeared, her eyes still shining with emotion. "Maria, that was beautiful, truly beautiful." She touched the silver music note. "Pin on Maria's dress. You understood exactly what this means. Music from the heart." For the next hour, Maria and her family waited in the lobby with other students and their families. Some of the other young musicians came up to congratulate her on her performance. A few admitted they wished they had been brave enough to play pieces they loved instead of what their teachers had chosen. "I think you've started a small revolution," Jessie whispered, nudging Maria with her elbow. Finally, an announcement came over the speakers. "All performers and audience members, please return to the auditorium for the awards ceremony." Everyone filed back into the large hall. The stage had been rearranged, with a table displaying trophies and medals of different sizes. The 5 judges sat in a row, including Mr. Reynolds, who stared straight ahead, not making eye contact with anyone. Ms. Abernathy stepped up to the microphone. "Before we announce our winners today, I want to say something about artistry and courage in music. Technical perfection is valuable, but music must also have heart. Sometimes the greatest performances come when a musician truly believes in their interpretation." Several audience members nodded, and some glanced toward Maria. Mr. Reynolds shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "Now, for our results. 3rd place goes to Daniel Lee for his performance of Liszt's Hungarian Rhapsody No. 2. A tall boy walked to the stage to receive a bronze medal and a small trophy. There was polite applause. 2nd place goes to Sophia Watkins for her performance of Rachmaninoff's Prelude in G minor. A girl in a red dress stepped forward, looking pleased with her silver medal. And our 1st place winner, the performance that demonstrated both technical mastery and profound emotional depth. ... The hall grew completely silent. Maria Diaz for her performance of Chopin's Ballade No. 1 in G minor. The audience erupted in cheers and applause, even louder than after Maria's performance. Her parents jumped to their feet, clapping wildly. Jessie screamed with excitement. Mrs. Chen wiped away tears. Maria sat frozen in her seat, unable to believe what she had heard. 1st place? She had won 1st place? Maria Diaz, Ms. Abernathy, repeated into the microphone. "Please come to the stage to receive your award." On shaky legs, Maria made her way to the stage. Ms. Abernathy placed a gold medal around her neck and handed her a large trophy. The other judges stood to congratulate her, shaking her hand one by one, all except Mr. Reynolds, who remained seated, his face unreadable. "Would you like to say a few words?" Ms. Abernathy asked, offering the microphone. Maria looked out at the audience, at her beaming parents, at Jessie filming everything on her phone, at Mrs. Chen with her proud smile. Then she looked at Mr. Reynolds, who finally met her eyes. In that moment, Maria understood something important. This victory wasn't about proving her teacher wrong. It was about being true to herself and to the music she loved. She leaned toward the microphone and spoke from her heart. Maria took a deep breath before speaking into the microphone. The trophy felt heavy in her hands, and the gold medal hung cool against her neck. "Thank you so much for this honor," she began, her voice shaking slightly. "I want to thank my parents for always supporting me, and my friend Jessie for believing in me." She paused, gathering her courage. "I also want to thank Mr. Reynolds." A murmur of surprise ran through the audience. People glanced at the piano teacher, who looked up sharply. Mr. Reynolds has taught me so much about technique and discipline, Maria continued. Without his teaching, I couldn't have played the piece I did today. We disagreed about which piece I should play, but the skills he gave me made my performance possible. She saw confusion in Mr. Reynolds' eyes, followed by something. That might have been the smallest hint of respect. Music is about expressing feelings that words can't say, Maria concluded. Today I got to share what's in my heart through Chopin's beautiful music. Thank you for listening. The audience applauded again as Maria left the stage. Ms. Abernathy took the microphone. Before we conclude today's ceremony, I have an exciting announcement. Our first place winner automatically qualifies for the state competition next month. Additionally, the judges have decided to offer Maria Diaz a special masterclass opportunity with Dr. Wilson at the State Conservatory. More applause filled the hall. Dr. Wilson, the silver-haired judge, nodded and smiled at Maria. After the ceremony ended, people gathered in the lobby for refreshments. Maria was surrounded by well-wishers, other students, and parents congratulating her. Her parents stood nearby, beaming with pride. Someone wants to speak with you, her father whispered, nodding toward a quiet corner of the lobby. Maria turned to see Dr. Wilson waiting patiently. She excused herself from the crowd and went to meet the distinguished piano professor. That was a brave thing you did today, Dr. Wilson said, her eyes kind. Not just playing a difficult piece, but standing up for your artistic choices. Thank you, Maria replied. I was scared, but I felt I had to play the piece I loved. Dr. Wilson nodded. That's the mark of a true artist. Tell me, have you thought about what comes next for your music education? Not really, Maria admitted. I've been so focused on this competition. Well, I'd like you to consider applying to our junior program at the conservatory. It's for exceptional young musicians like yourself. You would continue your regular school but take special music classes with us on weekends. Maria's eyes widened. Really? I didn't even know such a program existed. It's quite selective, Dr. Wilson explained. But after what I heard today, I think you would be a wonderful addition. She handed Maria a business card. Have your parents call me next week, and we can discuss the details. As Dr. Wilson walked away, Jessie rushed over. What did she say? You look shocked, Maria explained about the conservatory's junior program. It's an amazing opportunity, but... But what? Jessie asked. This is your dream, Mr. Reynolds, Maria said quietly. He's probably never going to teach me again after what happened today, and he knows so many people in the music world. What if he tries to block this opportunity? Before Jessie could respond, Mrs. Chen joined them. Couldn't help overhearing. Maria, don't worry about Mr. Reynolds. The music world respects talent and hard work. You showed both today, but he's been my teacher for so long, Maria said. I feel bad about disappointing him. Sometimes students outgrow their teachers, Mrs. Chen said gently. It doesn't mean you can't still honor what they taught you. As they spoke, Maria noticed people's attention shifting to the entrance of the lobby. Mr. Reynolds had finally emerged from the auditorium. He stood alone, no one approaching him. For the first time, Maria thought he looked old and tired rather than strict and imposing. I should talk to him, she decided. Are you sure? Jessie asked, looking concerned. Maria nodded. Yes, I need to. She handed her trophy to her friend and walked across the lobby. People watched as she approached Mr. Reynolds. Some whispered behind their hands, clearly expecting a confrontation. Mr. Reynolds saw her coming and straightened his shoulders, his face becoming the familiar mask of strict professionalism. Mr. Reynolds, Maria said when she reached him. Can we talk? He nodded stiffly. I suppose we must. They moved to a quiet corner away from curious eyes. For a moment, neither spoke. I want to apologize for surprising you today, Maria finally said. I should have been honest about my intentions. Mr. Reynolds adjusted his glasses. Yes, you should have. But I also bear some responsibility. I didn't listen to you when you tried to tell me how important the Chopin piece was to you. Maria hadn't expected this admission. So, you're not angry anymore? I'm disappointed that you felt you couldn't trust me with your true feelings, he replied. A teacher-student relationship requires trust on both sides. I was afraid you'd pull me from the competition if you knew what I was planning, Maria," explained Mr. Reynolds, sighed. "Perhaps I gave you reason to think that. I've always believed that strict discipline produces the best musicians. But today, paused, seeming to struggle with his words. Today you showed me there's more to music than perfect technique." Maria couldn't believe what she was hearing. In 4 years, she had never heard Mr. Reynolds admit he might be wrong about anything. "Does this mean you'll still be my teacher?" she asked hopefully. Mr. Reynolds looked surprised. "You want to continue? Lessons with me, even after today? You've taught me so much," Maria said sincerely. "I still have a lot to learn from you." A small smile, the first Maria had ever seen from him, appeared briefly on Mr. Reynolds' face. "Well, if you're willing to work with me, I'm willing to be a bit more flexible in my approach." "I'd like that," Maria said, smiling back. There. Conversation was interrupted by Ms. Abernathy, who approached with Dr. Wilson. "Thomas, I hope you're not monopolizing our champion, Ms. Abernathy said. Dr. Wilson has offered Maria a place in the conservatory's junior program." Mr. Reynolds raised his eyebrows. "Has she? That's a prestigious opportunity." He turned to Maria. "You should accept, but what about our lessons?" Maria asked. "We can work around the conservatory schedule," Mr. Reynolds said. "In fact," he hesitated, then continued, "I know Dr. Wilson. Perhaps we could collaborate on your training." Dr. Wilson looked surprised but pleased. "That's an excellent suggestion, Thomas. Your technical instruction combined with our program could be very beneficial for Maria." As the adults discussed possibilities, Maria caught sight of her parents, watching anxiously from across the room. She gave them a thumbs up to show everything was okay. Her father relaxed visibly, and her mother smiled with relief. Later that evening, the Diaz family celebrated at Maria's favorite restaurant. The trophies sat in the center of the table, catching the light from the overhead lamps. "I still can't believe it," Maria said, looking at the gold medal. "This morning I was so scared about what would happen." "We're so proud of you, Mia, Mother said. "Not just for winning, but for having the courage to be true to yourself." "And Mr. Reynolds is really okay with everything?" her father asked. Maria nodded. "I think today changed something for both of us. It's going to work with the conservatory on my training. Speaking of which," her father said, suddenly looking serious. "This junior program, how much does it cost?" Maria's heart sank. She hadn't even thought about that. Her family wasn't poor, but private music lessons were already a stretch for their budget. "Dr. Wilson mentioned scholarships," she said hesitantly, "but I'm not sure. ... Double quotes. Her father broke into a grin. "Well, before you worry, Ms. Abernathy called while you were changing for dinner. She says the first place prize includes a scholarship fund for further education. It seems your performance impressed some donors." Maria's eyes filled with tears of joy. "Really? So I can go to the program?" "If that's what you want," her mother said, "then yes, you can." Jessie, who had joined them for the celebration, raised her glass of soda. To Maria, who proved that sometimes breaking the rules is the right thing to do. Everyone laughed and clinked their glasses together. That night, before going to bed, Maria sat at the family piano one more time. She played a few notes of the Chopin piece softly, remembering how it felt to perform it on the grand piano at the competition. Her phone buzzed with a text message. It was from Mr. Reynolds. "Practice begins Tuesday at 4 o'clock. Bring Bach and Chopin. We have work to do for the state competition." Maria smiled to herself. It wasn't an apology, and it wasn't exactly warm, but it was a new beginning. Mr. Reynolds was still strict, and he would always push her to be better. But now there was mutual respect between them. She closed the piano and went upstairs to her room. Trophy and medal sat on her desk next to a framed photo of her family. She added Mrs. Chun's silver music note pinned beside them, a reminder of what she had learned. Technical skill was important, but music that came from the heart was what truly moved people. As she drifted off to sleep, Maria wasn't thinking about competitions or conservatories or even Chopin. She was thinking about all the music still waiting to be played, all the emotions still waiting to be expressed through her fingers on the keys. Today had been just the beginning of her journey, and what a beautiful beginning it was.